We are live. What is up? Sitting next to people over here. B-Rob, you want to hop in on this? Brian Robb, Boston Sports Journal.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Do the show.
John Corrales. Tom Westerholm. It's game 2 here at Fiserv Forum with the big Fear the Deer, their big whiteout going on today with the t-shirts. Celtics are warming up in front of us. And now the question is, can the Celtics come in and not steal just one game, take 2? And I guess the question really is, how much of game 1 was real and what can be duplicated in game 2?
Yeah, I think all of it was real. I think, it was because it was all stuff we talked about before the series. We talked about the Celtics being able to defend Giannis one-on-one. We talked about them being able to get pick and pop jumpers whenever they wanted. We talked about them being able to attack mismatches. All that stuff happened. All that stuff was accurate, and not like that we were on like the breaking edge of that analysis.
No,
it was pretty evident. I think it was all real. But I don't necessarily think that means that they're going to come out and dominate again tonight. I think that the Bucks are going to have some answers. I think Giannis is going to have a much better game. I mean, he's the league's MVP presumptively for a reason. Like he's an amazing basketball player. I think he's going to have a much better game. But even if the Bucks come out and win tonight's game, I still think that all of the stuff from game 1 is real, is transferable as the series goes on. It might not result in a win in every game, but I think that it all is worth keeping with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. The way the Celtics attacked that Bucks defense was exactly right. They really excelled.
Quick side note to the dude asking if Giannis is sick. I don't think so.
Affluent.
Is that a joke?
Affluenza. I think somebody's probably.
All right. Well, shout out to that guy.
Whatever.
No, he'll be playing. If that's
shout
the
out
question.
to the Greeks over here. Can I show the thing over here? Just because I'm Greek. Yo, what's up? A lot of coming in to check out the Greek Freak. Okay,
loose
so
show today.
whatever. We're having fun.
Yeah.
It's the playoffs. We're having some fun. The thing about the Celtics is they're hitting those mid-range jumpers. And
Affluenza.
Affluenza.
All right. That's pretty good.
Okay,
All right.
that's a good one. I can't see the thing for it.
That
Okay, that's a
was
good one.
pretty good.
That's a good joke.
Yeah.
The Celtics are making their mid-range jumpers. Kyrie Irving and Al Horford have pumped up the percentage of points that they get from the mid-range 8% apiece, which doesn't sound like a ton, but it's enough. They both really, the cumulative effect of all of that is just the Celtics are beating the Bucks at the shot that they want to give up.
Right.
And this is why I'm really curious about what the Game 2 adjustment is, because they may just come out and say, we're going to try to do the exact same thing and bet, A, that we do it better than we did in Game 1, and B, that's 2B, that the Celtics don't hit as many of those mid-range jumpers. And that's I think, one of the most interesting kind of who makes the adjustment. Because what do the Bucks do other than just try to do what they do better?
Yeah. I don't have a good answer for that. This is where I think the coaching matchup is going to come into play, because Brad Stevens talked about this morning how it's overblown, like how much like matchups and how much adjustments matter in the playoffs. I don't think it is. I think that he's like downplaying the importance of coaching a little bit here, because I think we're gonna see if Mike Budenholzer can come up with something that is going to change this series. I mean, he's kind of got to, and the Bucks talked a big game about not necessarily changing anything. I don't know how true that was. If they don't change anything, they're going to run up right against all the same problems that they ran up against in Game 1. So, yeah, I don't know that there's a good answer to that. I think the Bucks have to make some adjustments. The adjustments they make have to be the right ones, because if they go down 2-0, we talked about this a little bit on a podcast yesterday, but if they go down 2-0 in this series, going back to Boston, I don't think they're sweeping those games at Boston, and then they're staring right in the face of a 3-1 deficit, and that's real tough to come back from. And then they would have to take one from Boston in the first place. So we'll see. I think there's reason to have some real concerns about Milwaukee, and I also think that there's a very good chance that they come out and win this game. But I think that there's
There's one thing
got
that
distracted
you
by our boy Alex Kungu, who just.
Oh, what'd he say?
He informed you that you need to smile. Shout out Alex, smart dude.
I'm just listening intently to this knowledge that's being dropped.
Yeah.
One thing that you brought up on the podcast was Nikola Mirotic, and yesterday, or game one, was close in the second quarter and at halftime because Mirotic went off. And I want to know if that can be duplicated. I also want to know if that's going to be the thing the Celtics attack, like you mentioned, and if Mirotic thinking that he's going to get hot like that all the time, if he just comes out and starts firing, is he going to hit 3 of 3 or 3 of 4 each time? How do the Celtics do they adjust and just go at him whenever he's on the floor
Go a little
to make
higher
him
up on the
to make him kind of unplayable like they did when he was in New Orleans? I mean, that's a big thing, I think, when you're looking at what can Milwaukee do? What can they throw at you? They got Ilyasova, they've got Mirotic. Well, we saw Aaron Baines sealing off Ilyasova time and time again because he's not as good at the rim protection, drop, pick and roll coverage as Lopez is.
Yeah.
So when Lopez is off the floor and Ilyasova's in there and they just pin him down all the time and attack that, okay, that's one adjustment the Celtics can make. If Mirotic is in there and they attack that defensively, that defensive matchup over and over and over again, that's another adjustment they can make. So the Celtics, I see them as having counters to the counters.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if that requires, we'll see if that takes until game 3 for the counters to hit. I think that's true. Watching, we'll talk a little bit here about Jaylen Brown too. After he had a really nice game, we're watching him just wet in practice right now, in warm-ups right now. He's just splashing jumpers. I bet he misses this one after I said that. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, he had an unbelievable game the other night. He, just looked every bit like similar to the player who really hurt the Bucks last year, and you can really kind of see the elements of his game that he's added. He's got that mid-post kind of action working. He can hit guys that way. He's 42.9% from 3 in the playoffs so far. Like, he's knocking down his triples. I think that he's going to be really key to this series. We've talked a lot about Kyrie and Horford and Hayward, and I think obviously those guys are crucial. But I think getting big performances from Jaylen and Tatum really turns this Celtics team into something different. Like that's really kind of what pushes them over the top into the upper stratosphere of the Eastern Conference.
Because you've got nowhere to double off of.
Exactly.
You've got nowhere to help from. You want to leave. Even if you're late on a double, you want to surprise somebody by jumping on a spin or whatever. The Celtics not only have these guys like Jaylen and Tatum and Gordon Hayward, and even Mook had a really solid game one.
He's had a good playoffs. He's been good.
He's been good. And not only do they have those guys that they can turn to, they also have Kyrie, Al, exceptional passers.
Yeah.
Exceptional passers. So whatever the Bucks throw
Tatum's been passing really well too.
He has been. But if you look at that pick and roll, if everything's sprouting off of that pick and roll between Kyrie and Al, each of those guys can hit anybody at any time, which is a very important element to whatever wrinkle the Bucks throw at them. I mean, I'm really curious to see how they handle that pick and roll. I can see some weak side help coming. I can see somebody from the opposite side of the floor coming over and trying to jump into a passing lane. I'm very curious as to all of that. All right.
Yeah.
We've been going, and it might just come down to this dude right here. Hold on, let me just turn that around. Giannis. There's Giannis coming in, who is like, I'm always amazed that legs are like 80% of his body.
Yeah.
But it might just come down to that guy. Like, all of the stuff we're talking about just may not matter if Giannis comes out and plays like an MVP.
Yeah.
And he said he needs to play harder. I don't know if it's as simple as playing harder, but he's going to do what he needs to do. So we'll see. That's game 2. Anything else?
Philip says, let us know who else looks good in warm-ups. The only other dude who was out here was Brad Wanamaker, who was also knocking down all the shots.
Sure.
So, yeah,
Sure.
There you go.
NBA players can hit open shots in warm-ups.
Yeah. Weird but true. Yeah.
All right,
guys.
That's game 2. Thanks for everybody for watching the YouTube live. Remember, masslive.com/Celtics. Don't wait for us to tweet it out. I mean, always, if you want to retweet it, help us out. That's great. But masslive.com/Celtics. Bookmark it so you can get all of our coverage. We're pumping out the content. 5, 6, 7 pieces a day from each of us. So there's a lot going up, lots of analysis, lots of reaction. So make sure you check that out. And of course, follow him on Twitter at Tom_NBA. I'm RedsArmy_John. Thanks for watching the YouTube live. I'm going to let you watch Jaylen Brown take some free throws before we wrap it up. See you next time.